All right, just wrapped up a workout, and within the last 15 weeks or so, I went down about 30 pounds. Have been focusing more on cutting fat than bulking muscle, and saw some decent results from that. 15 weeks isn't too long to go down 30 pounds. Um, Part of the reason that happens is because of our basal metabolic rate. That's what I want to talk about and sum up, I guess, my theory on health and fitness and how to achieve goals when it comes to reshaping your body to the way you want it. I think a lot of people do it for health reasons, but it's largely a vain endeavor. And ultimately, people are looking at reshaping themselves so they can feel better about themselves. And that's going to be the focus. I've been lifting for around 13 years. I don't do cardio very much at all, and I don't eat super well all the time. So a lot of this breaks down to, well, I'll get to it. Protein and BMR are going to be important. Those are the main things I want to discuss. BMR, if you do these things, this is good for both weight loss, fat loss, and muscle gain. And when I say muscle gain, I think a lot of times that scares women away. Women don't want to look bulky. They don't want to look ripped. They don't want to look like a man, mostly. I think that's oftentimes why you see women doing more jogging and elliptical stuff. They want to burn fat. And as we all know, cardiovascular activity is the best way to burn fat, except I don't think it is. And so we're going to talk about your basal metabolic rate. That's BMR. When I say BMR, that's a reference to that basal metabolic rate. It's your, think of it as baseline metabolic rate, meaning how many calories you burn simply by doing nothing. Fat is not terribly functional. It doesn't function as a part of your locomotion, and so it doesn't require a lot of blood like muscle does to move. Muscle requires blood, oxygen. Muscle needs to be fed. It is part of your ability to move. And so that requires calories to fuel that. Therefore, if you've got more muscle, you're burning more calories throughout the day simply by doing nothing. You don't really have to work as hard. So more muscle, higher basal metabolic rate. There's an NCAA study, a study of women who went to, these are women's basketball players. And so they're both the control group and the experimental group are, of course, in training. They do the things that professional basketball players do, exercise and whatnot. So with the control group, they did basically everything that they normally did. They ate a certain amount of calories, and they trained. The experimental group did the same thing, still trained, but they ate more protein. And what they found was that even though when you eat more protein, you're also getting more calories. So this group that ate more calories, they actually lost more fat as well. Normally, I would say it's calories in, calories out. You want to lose weight, watch your portion sizes. An exception to that would be protein intake while you're training, because while you're training, you experience this thing called protein synthesis. That's when your body converts protein into muscle, basically. So even though they ate more calories, they burn more fat. And that's not from cardio. That's because they were doing something that was, they're athletes. They're doing strength training stuff. So they had that protein synthesis going on. Women don't really have to worry about looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You see those pictures of these women who are just jacked. They've got, they really do look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. That is steroids. It's actually steroids when you see men that look like that too. Like really, really, like there's veins on top of their veins. It looks unnatural because it is unnatural. So women, you don't have to worry about getting to that point. Also, if you feel like you're getting to that point, then just stop. Once you gain muscle, you don't retain it forever. You'll go back down to your baseline if you stop training. So don't have to worry about that. Another reason that women should lift, again, if your focus is probably not on building muscle, it's to burn fat, most likely. If you're like 99% of the other women out there, then that's the ultimate goal. Well, lifting is going to help you burn more fat and keep it off better than anything else. So lift weights and eat protein is going to be the point I'm nailing home. Also, it's great for pain reduction. A lot of people have back issues. I can tell you, so I've got this piece of equipment called Roman chair. You basically just hang over the edge of it and lock your feet in and then do back extensions. So it works your lower back, and that has worked better for me than anything else. You have knee problems, strengthen the muscle around your knees. You have shoulder problems, strengthen your rotator cuff. That's all physical therapy is, and you can do it yourself. Hypertrophy, that's a fancy word for muscle growth. That requires protein synthesis. Like I said, having trouble talking today. Synthesis. So when I first started lifting, I was rode my bike I didn't have my license at the time, rode my bike after work from South St. Cloud, Minnesota to North St. Cloud, where I would sell my plasma at BioLife. And when you sell your plasma, they take your protein levels and your iron levels before they'll allow you to donate. They say donate. It's selling because they give you money for it, whatever. So about the same time is when I started lifting weights. And one day I went up there and I got turned away because they took my blood and the protein was not enough. Now, I knew at that time I'd done enough research to know I have to eat protein if I want to see some results. So I was eating protein. I thought, well, that's weird. That's the last thing that should be low. So all that week, I doubled down on my protein even more. Just nothing but milk and cottage cheese and eggs and meat, whey protein bars. Went back, they took my levels, and I'm still too low, still getting turned away. And I thought, what is going on here? And eventually it dawned on me that I'm in the process of putting muscle on. Therefore, every little gram of protein that I'm taking in is being converted into muscle. And so your body is a sponge for protein when you're lifting. This will happen. It's not like you're going to just get ripped overnight, but it'll happen fairly quickly. You can anticipate, I'll just say for a man, it's different for a woman. If you're a man, you can put on maybe 20 to 25 pounds of muscle in your first year. The next year, that'll be cut in half. You put on 10, maybe 15 tops. The next year, you'll put on 5. The next year, you'll put on 2.5. Next year, you'll put on 1, and so on and so forth. So that at about 5 years of training, you're kind of topping out and hitting your max. I would say at that point, probably good to decrease the protein intake a little bit because you're not getting all of that converted into muscle anymore. But the common recommendation for muscle building is get 1 gram to 2 grams of protein per pound of body fat. For the sake of just easy math, we'll say if you weigh 200 pounds and you want to take the middle of the road approach and say I'm going to have 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body fat, you're looking at 300 grams of protein per day. It's a lot of protein. Highest protein food you can get is, well, it's really bison, but close to that is beef, and that's obviously more common, easier to find. We have beef and steak all over the place. So that's about the most protein dense thing you can get. A steak, like, I don't know, your standard, maybe like a 6-ounce steak is probably 40 grams of protein. And just to kind of put that in perspective, what 300 grams looks like and how much you'd have to eat throughout the day. Hence why we have protein supplements. You wouldn't want to just drink protein shakes. A good idea to get most of your protein from natural sources and supplement it with a protein shake or a protein bar. That's why they're called supplements. You don't want that to be your mainstream source. However, am I just gonna get fat because I'm eating all this protein? Well, did the NCAA women involved in this study get fat? No, they lost fat. So protein, very important. Also, don't neglect your macronutrients. Your macronutrients, you've got protein, you've got fat, and you've got carbs, and your body needs them all. Fat is good for you. Carbs are good for you. You just don't want to get them from unhealthy sources. As a general rule of thumb, get that stuff as naturally and unprocessed as you can. Good advice that I've heard before is just shop the perimeter of the grocery store. That's where you're getting your natural unprocessed stuff that's not chock full of preservatives. So that's one tip. I say focus on protein and not as much emphasis on fat and carbs, because there's fat and carbs all over the place. You're gonna get enough carbs and probably enough fat throughout the day by not even trying at all. It's the protein that you have to actually try to meet your quota if you're trying to achieve this. Now, some of the myths I do want to address, I already talked about one with cardio not necessarily being your best strategy for fat loss. Another thing people do, all right, I've got too much fat on my stomach and I want that to go away. I don't mind fat everywhere else. It's just on my gut. I want that gut gone. So I'm going to do crunches until that goes away. Well, fat loss doesn't work like muscle growth. You can't spot treat fat loss. You're going to lose fat all over your body at the same time. It's not going to be localized. Whereas if I wanted to only get big biceps, I would do curls and nothing but curls. And eventually my biceps would grow, but only my biceps, because I'm not working any other muscle. You can spot treat muscle growth, can't spot treat fat loss. You need hours in the gym or endless sets in order to get really good results. I mean, those people are diehard. I don't know if I could keep up. I don't think I could do that. I don't have what it takes. I can tell you, if you're spending more than an hour in the gym, you're probably wasting your time to an extent. You can only fatigue your muscle so much. And after that, you're just spinning your wheels. A lot of people, I mean, I don't know why anyone does like 5-6 sets of the same exercise. If you take every set till failure, meaning you can't do any more. So I'm curling, and on rep number 10, I can't quite get there. I can't complete the full range of motion. I can't get back up. I'm done. That's completing the set till failure. There's no reason to do that 6 times, because after you've done it twice, maybe 3 times, just for good measure, you've already achieved as much muscle damage as you can. And that's the point. You want to damage the muscle. And then muscle growth occurs during rest. It doesn't occur while you're lifting. So then you take the day off. I would say don't take any days off lifting. Just take the day off that muscle, work on a different muscle group, and let that be about 48 hours before you return to the same muscle. Let it rest, eat your protein, let those muscle tears fill in. That's going to be replaced with very, very slightly larger muscle fibers, and eventually you're going to put on more muscle. That's the process behind it, but you do not need to spend hours in the gym. There are reasons why, like if you're doing a full body workout, which I wouldn't recommend, I would split it up. We'll talk about that later. Then maybe you're spending hours in the gym, but I don't see that as very productive, because you're not getting the rest that you need then, unless you do a full body workout and then you take a day off. Here's the problem I have with that. Consistency is the most important factor in success here. And taking one day off allows just enough downtime that you'll get your head out of exercise mode. And now you got to talk yourself back into it when it's time to start going again. You just consign yourself, you draw that mental line. Here is what I'm doing every single day. That allows a lot less room for having to be in that position where you're deciding whether or not to do it. There is no deciding whether or not to do it. You just do it because that's what you do now. That's what you do every day. So it kind of takes that, it's a big psychological game. That's all it is. And if you just resign yourself to it, like this is what I do, before I allow myself to go home, I have to stop at the gym. That's just a part of my routine, or whatever works for you. That's going to be your best bet. I would not take a day off. You don't need a day off. You don't, your muscle group needs a day off. If I'm doing biceps and lats, that's a good combination because that is a pull day. So in order to target your lats, that's these things, you're pulling, and you're also pulling when you're doing biceps. So that's a good combination to do lats and biceps on the same day. You do that, then you don't do something that involves your lats and biceps on the next day, then maybe you do a leg day or something like that. So that is a myth. One is also creatine. This is okay, there's a few supplements that are probably worth taking. Most of them are not. A lot of it, there's not a lot of FDA regulation when it comes to weight loss supplements and muscle growth things like that. I still do take pre-workout mixes. I don't even know why. They usually have some BCAAs. Those are branched chain amino acids. Those can be useful. I think there's beta alanine in most. And that's a vasodilator, so that will help promote blood flow, get more blood and oxygen to the muscles. They're usually just pumped full of caffeine. I don't really care about that. That doesn't give me an edge. Once you start being active, you're going to conjure up your own inherent energy, and that's a physical process, not a psychological one. If you're dead tired, you wake up at 4 a.m. and do a morning workout, which I don't do that. I'm not recommending it, but or unless that does work for you. Once you get going, that energy will kick on. You don't have to psych yourself into it. You will have to psych yourself into starting in the first place, but caffeine to me doesn't seem terribly productive. Anyway, like I said, it's got pre-workouts have other stuff in it that I do use. I don't think it's very good for you. I do it anyway. Whey protein, like I discussed. Now there are different kinds of proteins. You've got casein, that's slow digesting. You've got whey protein. You've also got soy protein. Generally, for purposes of hypertrophy, whey protein is suggested. Soy protein may have some properties that are counter to that, counter to testosterone production. And women, it's okay to have whey protein. And again, your physiological makeup doesn't allow you to produce enough testosterone to grow hair on your chest or anything like that. So you'll be okay. You'll achieve the same goals. I guess I'm not too up on my pop culture. I'm trying to think of some examples of women who lift weights. You could just look at professional athletes. If you're too afraid of how you're going to look, think of, I don't know if you watch the Olympics, women's basketball. I mean, there's a lot of height involved in that, so that's kind of skewed as it is. But I don't know, beach volleyball, things like that. Those women lift. That's what you might look like. You're not going to get like jacked. So I want to sell that point because I think that this is the best process for women too, not just men. I think it's the best process for fat loss and not just muscle growth. The two coincide. And also exercise and diet coincide. You're more likely to eat well if you have a good active day. You don't want to ruin it with a bad diet, and vice versa, at least for me. Now, if I eat a ton of, say, a bunch of steak and stuff throughout the day because it's nice and I'm out grilling and whatever, I don't want to waste that. That motivates me to lift. The two play off each other. There's an interplay between diet and exercise. So anyway, pre-workout, whey, casein. Now, while you're lifting, you might want to have a whey or something that is fast digesting, and do something like casein that is slow digesting before bed or at a later time. After you work out, your body's in repair mode. It kind of turns into a bit of a sponge. You might find yourself more hungry. And that's fine. Feed it. Listen to your body. Do what it wants you to do. Unless it wants you to eat donuts and stuff. That's what my body usually wants me to do. And that's kind of where I have to draw a line and fight that battle and lose. But like I said, if you can draw that mental line, you can get there. So creatine, that's another supplement. That one's controversial. So this kind of factors into the myths about lifting as well. With with creatine, a lot of people treat it like it's a steroid, which is interesting because your body produces creatine on its own. It's not a steroid. It is a tasteless substance. You can just mix it into juice. One of the things that people think that it's bad for you, a way that they think is bad for you is bad for your kidneys because I don't know why. I honestly don't know why they think that. I guess maybe there's a study at some point. I can say that I'd been taking it for years and years and years, never had any kidney problems or liver problems. Some people cycle on and off of it like it's a steroid, like I said. Doesn't seem to be a need for it. There's also a critique that all it does is make you retain water. It just makes you more puffy. It's not muscle you're putting on, it's puffiness. And that's a bit of a misunderstanding. What creatine does is it helps promote the development of ATP in your muscle cell. ATP is adenosine triphosphate. That's essentially the energy in your muscle cell. So the reason that I can do 10 military presses with such and such a weight, but I can't do 11 is because on the 10th, my ATP is depleted and I need to give it a rest so that that can charge back up and then I can do another set. With creatine, if it gives me just a little bit extra ATP, then I might be able to bang out that 11th rep. So what's the benefit in one more rep? Well, because when you're tearing your muscle fibers, you're not doing it on the first several reps. You're not doing it until your last couple reps. That's when you feel that lactic acid buildup. When your muscles burn, that's what that is, lactic acid. So that might help you get that extra rep out, get a better workout, increase muscle damage. Remember, muscle damage is good in that regard, not joint damage, and increase your results. That's the benefit of creatine. It can give you an edge in the gym. I don't think that it has any negative side effects. However, I'm not a scientist. All I have is anecdotal evidence, and according to my own experience, it's harmless. So we got pre-workout, whey protein, primarily, also casein, soy if you want. Soy's fine. Soy is another very high protein item. Tofu is super high protein. Cottage cheese, if you like that, or other cheese, just cheese in general, dairy in general. Greek yogurt is a really good one, also for its probiotic effects. Meat is your go-to quintessential protein item. And what else? I would say those are the primary supplements. I also take fish oil. Of all the supplements out there, there's so many that I don't think are really super high value. I think fish oil is, for a number of reasons. I think it's got a lot of health benefits. For a good fish oil, look on the back, your omega-3s, you've got EPA and DHA. And the higher those numbers, the better it is. So compare bottles and see who's got more EPA and DHA. That's the one you want to go with. And finally, your BCAAs, your branched chain amino acids. That's a supplement that it's essentially, it's protein. It's amino acids are the building blocks of protein. With your branched chain amino acids, they come in a certain proportion, and there's certain ones that they usually combine to increase hypertrophy. And a lot of people will tell you don't need BCAAs because if you're getting enough protein, you're getting the BCAAs along with it. Your body's going to break that down anyway. That's probably true. Sometimes I take it, sometimes I don't. I'm not too diligent about it. The things you have to that are non-negotiables are your protein, and that's it. Just protein. Make sure you get protein when you're lifting, and drink your water. Two different goals for lifting, and I think either one is going to be beneficial for fat loss, but not all muscle development is the same. As far as hypertrophy, you can have sarcoplasmic hypertrophy and you can have myofibrillar hypertrophy. Sarcoplasmic is a lighter rep range, and I should say lighter weight, bigger rep range. Myofibrillar would require heavier weights, but fewer repetitions. Myofibrillar just means you're lifting for strength, functional strength. So the weight is going to be heavier. So what do I mean by heavier? Um, so in a sarcoplasmic rep range, say, and sarcoplasmic means size. So size and strength are separate from one another. I've always focused on that, sarcoplasmic. There's going to be overlap either way. You're going to get both. You're not going to get bigger without getting stronger. You're not going to get stronger without getting at least a little bigger. Although there was this one deadlifter guy I saw, short guy, like small, pretty small guy. He could deadlift 600 pounds, which there's no way I could do that. But, and not a big guy at all. So that would be a myofibrillar. He's a strength trainer, like Olympic performers. That's the kind of lifting they would focus on. So whereas me, I'm going to shoot for 10 repetitions in a set. So if I'm benching, I want to select a weight that I can bench 10 times, but not 11, because that's the rep range that's going to help me achieve my goals. Say I did the same motion, but with no weight, and I can actually do this, I don't know, 500 times maybe. Am I going to get stronger? No, because the ingredients for developing size or strength is time under tension. You need enough resistance. Now, if I choose a weight that's too heavy and I can't go through a range of motion at all, I can't even lift it, then my muscle isn't working. This is an isometric hold. And there are exercises like that, like the plank, that there's some value to. Not as valuable when you're going for hypertrophy. You want to work your muscle through the full range of motion. So if I'm trying to get my biceps bigger, I'm not going to lift, I'm not going to curl like this. I can go down further and stretch it as much as I can. And I'm not going to stop here because I can go up further. You're supposed to think like you're squeezing a tennis ball between your forearm and your bicep. So you want that full range of motion. So that is how you're going to determine what kind of weight you're going to use. If you're really just trying to get as strong as you possibly can, rep range is, you're going to want to select a weight where you top out at about 5 repetitions on average. I'd say a good rep range for gaining strength is 3 to 6. Good rep range for gaining size is 8 to 12. Generally, your basic like lifting protocol is 3 sets of 10. Like I said, there's some overlap there. So I don't know how far I want to get into this before doing another video. Ergonomics factors into this quite a bit, but I guess maybe we'll stop it pretty soon here. I think a lot of the things that hold people back is, I don't know what to wear to the gym. I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing. I've never had a personal trainer in my life, and I started just looking at YouTube videos. It's and I'll go over some stuff too in a future video, but so you can use this as a resource. But there are endless videos out there showing you exactly what to do. And once you just do it a little bit, you find out there's not a super, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to do this. There's just a few basic principles in terms of your posture. As a general rule, keep your back straight. That's probably the biggest one. I haven't had a lot of injuries either. A lot of people injure themselves lifting. That's when they try to go too heavy. If you're focusing more on sarcoplasmic growth, that 10 rep range, you're not going to have as many issues with this. You may never get injured. So it's safer. So you don't have to, I would say don't not be cautious, but not something you'd really have to worry about. So don't worry about not knowing what to do, because there are endless resources online. In addition to that, you don't really have to worry about what to wear either, because you can wear whatever you want if you start in your own home, which is what I did. I started lifting think I was lifting for at least a year with nothing more than a set of dumbbells in my room when I lived in an apartment with 3 other guys. And that's where I made the vast majority of my gains, so that by the time I did go to a gym, there was really no concern whether I fit in or not. I already knew the exercises that I would do, and I had to get used to some of the equipment and the machines that they use. But the best thing you can do is get some free weights. All you really need is some dumbbells, and I'll show you everything that you need to do with only dumbbells in your room. You don't have to worry about a gym membership. Weights can be expensive, but you could get a set of adjustable dumbbells for the price of a gym membership, and that way you don't have to go to the gym ever. You don't have an excuse, really. Those dumbbells will be waiting for you when you get home from work every day. That would be my suggestion. Getting into exactly what to do and the variations in lifting, stuff like that, I think we can save for another video. But the principles have to be there. You have to understand the principles. Make sure you exhaust the muscle. If I'm lifting, my set, in my opinion, other people do this differently. The set isn't done until I can't lift up one more rep. When I can't lift up one more rep, then it's done. I can set it down. And I want to try to pick a weight where that occurs at about the 10th repetition. If it happens on rep number 8 or rep number 12, fine. You're still in that rep range that you need. So try to select that weight. As a general rule, it's time under tension. So make sure that you're not resting for 30 seconds before you bring the weight back up. In this case, we're doing curls. Just keep the tension on and try to feel that burn. Try to build up that lactic acid. And full range of motion, finally. There's a big difference between doing half a motion and working all the way. Think of it like you're only working a portion of the muscle. If I'm only going this much, I'm not working everything. This is the when your muscle is at the most stretched, it's at its weakest. When it's fully contracted, it's at its strongest. But you want to work that muscle through the whole range. So all the way down. You don't want to hyperextend either. That's not necessarily good, but go all the way down, make it all the way stretched and all the way contracted. And that's true for any muscle group. Just go push all the way through the range of motion. Don't stop short. So with those principles, time under tension, full range of motion, and go until the set is done, till you can't bang out another rep. If you do it that way, then you don't have to do endless sets. Just do 1 more or 2 more, and then you're done. I usually don't sweat when I work out because you don't have to. I don't know why anyone would do any kind of exercise other than lifting. You push, you grit your teeth while you get through that set, but you're not huffing and puffing for breath. You're not dripping sweat. You get to eat, especially if you like protein, especially if you like meat. This is the best thing that anyone could do with a goal like this, is lift weights. I don't understand when I see guys running, especially if they're super skinny. Stop running, start lifting. It's easier, it's more fun. Okay, obviously I'm biased, I'm a little opinionated here. But, and you get to replenish your body with protein, which is fun. If you like to eat, lift weights. Just like those women, the NCAA women, they got to eat, they still burn fat because it's about your basal metabolic rate. Increase your BMR so that you don't have to struggle so much and worry about your fat so much. It will be easier to burn if you make your body stronger, which doesn't actually take that long. So I'll maybe expand on that in a later video, but I wanted to put that out there. Guess that's all for now.